Good afternoon. So my name is Alex. So I'm the technology architect of HPE Hybrid IT. So what I'm gonna discuss today is about client virtualization, how would SimpliVity helps in terms of architecting your end user computing, your VDI. So let me start first with so what is client virtualization? So basically, client virtualization is basically if you want to host your desktop in a shared virtualized infrastructure. So it's also can do hosted application via RDS or application virtualization delivery. So client virtualization is all about consuming via client or via laptop, or you can use your BYOD or your mobile device. So for client virtualizations, we have the two major platform, VMware and Citrix. So for HP Simplicity, we support both platform, and we have our reference architecture and rigorous in terms of testing that we both run on the VMware and Citrix platform. Basically, for client virtualizations, you can have end user computing. So basically, it's describing the desktop or application systems. So for one of the basics for end user computing is VDI. So typically, this is a hosted desktop OS running on a hypervisor. So this could be a VMware or a Citrix Zen desktop. So other common basics in terms of client virtualization is RDS, so the remote desktop services. So wherein you can share multiple application to multiple users. So this is formerly, kung naalala nyo yung mga Microsoft Terminal. So one of the platform that runs is Citrix Zen Desktop and also VMware Horizon for RDS and hosted applications. So this is all about, RDS is all about application virtualizations, while VDI is desktop virtualizations. In terms of VDI basics, there are two common types of VDI. Number one is a full clone and a link clone. So these are the different types of desktop in a virtual desktop infrastructure. So full clone means are fully independent copies of VMs. So there is no files that is shared across the parent VM after creations. So basically, some of the benefits for a full clone is that because it's fully independent, so it has best performance, and because it does not continue to access connection to the parent VM. So for link clone, it's share a virtual disk within the parent VM. So during operation, so it continuously access necessary to the connection to the parent VM. So because it allows multiple VMs to ensure software installation, so link clones needs to continuous access to the parent VM. So one of the benefits for link clone is that you can create rapid creation and easy to share. So this is typically how SimpliVity hyperconverged in terms of architecture of the VDI link clone. So link clones have a master image. This is called Golden Desktop. So for all the this is where administrator would load the software for the desktops. So as recommendations, for SimpliVity infrastructure, there are replica on each of the nodes for best performance. So the replica needs to be on each SimpliVity nodes where user login are created from the replica. So how does SimpliVity simplifies VDI? So basically, SimpliVity is the perfect solution to support VDI. So in terms of first, SimpliVity is an all-in-one building block. So Jasper already mentioned that HCI, it's an all-in-one infrastructure. So basically, all of the functions or features to run your data center, from compute, server, storage, data protection, data backup appliance, is already built. It's already in this one vendor, one platform. So, and also in terms of, because we are doing inline deduplication and compression, so VDI basically, so we have multiple clones. So we are a very efficient architecture for management. And also we have AI, the power in terms of monitoring, doing by info sites. So we provide AI driven to have a 24/7 monitoring of your infrastructure. We can deploy virtual desktop faster than any other competitor because of this, because our core technology inline deduplication compression. So before data is written to the disk, it's already been optimized. And also, we can support more concurrent logins than any other competitor. So just for mention that we are validated via benchmark, the login VSI. So not only we are validated by the login VSI, our own customer will share some of the use cases later on in the slide. So we can support more desktop per host by reducing the number of total nodes requirements. So we can run from small, so we can run one node, and then we can easily scale up. So in terms of the solutions, not only we can scale per node, but we can scale in terms where we can just add compute node to support more desktop. So
Alex, excuse me lang, Alex.
Yes, sir.
May question lang si Sir Mike. Oh.
Yes, sir.
Chat box. Question.
Hindi ko po nakita yung chat box.
Ang question niya.
Sige po, I'll be answering na lang yung sa chat box.
Si Jasper.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is how SimpliVity simplifies. So typically we simplify infrastructure. So yung kanina Jasper had mentioned, from server storage, you don't anymore need this kind of from different vendors. So all of the functionalities to run your enterprise data center, to run your VDI, is included in one solution. So number one is to of course, lower the upfront costs in providing infrastructure for VDI, so reduce power, cooling, OPEX, and avoid endless refresh cycle. So basically VDI, you need to avoid also. That's why you go for desktop virtualization, to avoid PC life cycle. So in same with the infrastructure, we simplify the infrastructure by avoiding this endless refresh, because you have multiple equipments just to run your VDI. So for SimpliVity, one of the good advantage also, or benefits in running VDI, is we are built for resiliency and data protections. So with SimpliVity, you can do a file level restorations. So for example, if you're a file share, or your a shared folder of your user for your VDI, so if the user delete that specific file, we can do a file level restoration. And also for your full clones, we can do a VM level restoration. So I can recreate instantly the VMs for your customer desktop if it is corrupted. In terms of node resiliency, we can I can tolerate these failures in terms of node. And in terms of cluster or per data center, if you have a 2-node SimpliVity to run your VDI, I can tolerate one node failure, and the other node can tolerate this failure. So in terms of, for example, if you have your data center goes down, so you can fail over to the secondary site or your DR site. So typically for SimpliVity, at the end of the day, it's all about when we design where an architect or solution, we ensure that data is available. Data is restorable. We can immediately restore the data or your VMs so that it will be protected. So one of the key features of SimpliVity is that I mentioned kanina is that we can deploy with just one node without any compromise to functionality. So of course, we don't have HA for a single node deployment, but it's a perfect as for POC or pilot to start your VDI journey. So no other competitor can do this without losing some functionality. So all of the competitors cannot use a single node. So this is a kickstart. So you can maybe you can start up 20 to 30 nodes, 30 task worker. So provide it already provided compute and storage and integrated backup solutions. So to manage for cost-effective and quickly deploy the solutions. So after you do a pilot, so we can start to go to the 2 nodes for HA, and we can add more without disruption. So we can start small and from pilot to productions. So it's very fast and simple deployment. And in terms of a linear scale, so whenever we add a node, the performance also it's linearly scales. So it's very simple to expand the cluster. So we can add not only per node, but only if you require only computing power, so we can just add a compute nodes in order to have a cost-effective solution. So we can add more in terms of scale outs, scale in. We can add SimpliVity nodes in terms of CPU and storage. So if you have a designer or a power user, so we can add GPU to accelerate the graphics performance. So in terms of our reference architecture, we have reference for Citrix and VMware. So this is for our Citrix reference architecture. So it's validated by Log and VSI. So it's a very cost-effective in terms of BC and business continuity and disaster recovery strategies. So we are jointly built for solution and strong alliance relationship with Citrix. So we have tested up to a 4-node SimpliVity cluster and optional 4 nodes computes. We are able to have 750 knowledge worker for SimpliVity and 1 second baseline response time. So basically, one of the hurdle in a customer deploying VDI is in terms of performance. So with our core technology with inline deduplication and compressions, we're able to increase performance. So 1 second baseline response time equals a happy user. So previously, kasi before, one of the problems of VDI is performance when they, Jasper mentioned kanina, is about login storms. So when multiple user logins to the environment, that's where performance kick in. So with SimpliVity's architecture, we are able to solve that kind of boot storm. So what customer experience as we are able to recover from outrage from hours or days to 2 minutes. So we have a uptime of 99.9. So this is also we are also validated by Log and VSI for for VMware Horizon. So same with Citrix. So we are tightly alliance partner for VMware Horizons. So right now we can support instant clone and up volumes so efficiently in terms of BC and DR strategies. So this is what we tested on an 8-node SimpliVity 380 in a cluster pod. So it's about 1,500 knowledge user for an 8-node cluster. So in terms of performance, it's same. So we're able to have performance of 1 second baseline response times whenever user log into the VDI platform using HCI as the infrastructure. So we can start small and independently scale. So this is the we are not able in terms of a performance. So the blue line, this is where SimpliVity in terms of average performance, and then the red line, this is the VSI max. So whenever hit the max in using 8 nodes SimpliVity cluster for 1,500 users. So I'll go for the use cases. So for this is one of our use cases. This is a Korea use cases. So they start 400 user and eventually scale to 2,000 users. So in terms of results, they have a 30% high VM density per node. So for SimpliVity, we are able to accommodate 250 nodes, 250 VMs or VDI per node. So we have a better TCO by mixing compute node and a SimpliVity nodes. So for the number of virtual machines in the cluster. So we have a very high data efficiency because of our inline deduplication and compressions. And in terms of protections, so we are able to back up and restore not only in protecting data corruption, but also in protection for the ransomware. So this is one of also the use case of a large defense aviation contractor. So this is based in Singapore. So they have around 1,500 users and have a multiple site. So in terms of IT administrator, so it's a very highly secured, centralized, and we streamline management. So so this is the results when we use a SimpliVity as an infrastructure to run VDI. So this is also a use case in terms of a legal firm, so 300 users in Australia. So the challenge for the customer was facing is performance and user experience. So they run traditional legacy infrastructure to run their VDI, but they have problem in terms of poor performance. So they use SimpliVity, and then in terms of we increase their or improve their performance and much better user experience when they go for SimpliVity as an infrastructure to run their VDI. So they have a high data efficiency. So a 100 TB data stored only on about 400 gig disk. So that's the kind of efficiency we gain from the customer. So not only we increase performance, but in terms of efficiency because of our inline deduplication and compressions technology. Same with other customer. So it's very easy to back up and restore. So because our data protection is built in, and of course, it's easy to manage. So we manage all the infrastructure in a single pane of glass. So if you want to have CAD user, so we have use case also. So we have GPU to run to accelerate performance, especially for CAD users. So same with other customers, what they achieve in using SimpliVity as a VDI for to use as an infrastructure is that a CAD user can have mobility between sites. So, and also in terms of scalable, so we can we can scale up from small to large deployment easily by just adding one node. And we, in terms of performance, previously they are running the process 25 minutes, but we reduce it to 3 minutes because of our technology. So in terms of protections, easy to back up, and also they are protected from ransomware and of course management. So not only we are in terms of provisioning the entire infrastructure, but we can manage this single pane of glass if you have multiple site deployment. So this is the product family for SimpliVity. So what we have is a 380G, specifically for VDI. So this is our new model. So this is for if you have if you want or requirement for GPU accelerated use cases. So it can have multiple PCIe slots to cater your GPU. And we have 325. It runs on AMD processor. So in terms of cost per VM, because for 325 we can have a CPU of 64 core. So in terms of number of VMs, we can run very cost effective to run a multiple number of VMs or VDI in the 325 model. So these are the results based on our own internal testing. So 2 nodes of SimpliVity 380G with T4 cards for office and knowledge worker. So we have about more than 75 desktop or more than 300 desktops. So as we add compute nodes, so the number of desktop also increases. And also for a 325 model, so it's the same. So as you can add compute nodes or you can add SimpliVity nodes, the number of desktop also increases. So it's very easy to scale and very easy to expand. So what HPE VDI? So we allow organization to start small and scale up. So basically more desktop to reduce capex and operational expenditure. So we can do linear scaling. So from pilot to productions. And of course, what we can offer is an enterprise class protection and resiliency. So not only we simplified the infrastructure, but we have a built-in data protection. So you can back up, restore your VDI from prod if you have a secondary site. So you can spin off or you can move your VDI from any other site. And also, it's in terms of global unified management. So you can centrally manage the entire infrastructure from prod, from provisioning, your built-in backup, your multiple sites, and in terms of upgrades, we simplify lifecycle management for infrastructure. So we employ one-click upgrade from firmware to hypervisor to OS. So I think on the next speaker, he will talk about more about HPE InfoSight. This is AI-driven for predictive analytics and support automations. So it's bundled to new for SimpliVity. So in order to simplify the operation, so we employ machine learning, which InfoSight can do. Okay, So if you have some questions, so you can feel free to ask questions. And so that's my slide.